Hey guys, I'm Dan from ShastaBubba Adventures, and today I'm going to be showing you about how to pitch a mid, and I'll give you 10 tips to ensure getting a perfect pitch every time. If you've never seen an ultralight shelter up close, it can be a little intimidating, the thought of pitching a tent just using your trekking poles, but I'm going to show you just how that's done, and hopefully even if you are familiar with these shelters, there might be a few nuggets here that you can take away and make use of. By the way, I'll be using the Locust Gear Khufu to demonstrate this. That's just the mid that I have and use all the time, but these concepts apply to really any pyramid type shelter. So let's get going. Before we get started with actually pitching the tent, I wanted to show you a little trick that I've learned about rolling up the Khufu, is that I like to roll it up with the DPTE post extender in the middle and the stake sack, and then that's always handy right when I need it, when I want to pitch, if I have to pitch in a hurry. It also gives me the right length for folding up the Khufu so that I know that it will fit in the stuff sack. If I have just an inch and a half or so sticking out on the end of the DPTE. So the first thing you want to do is to check your site, clear out pine cones and sticks and anything pokey like that. Then I like to look around and find a good rock that I can use as a hammer stone, because a lot of times the stakes need to be pounded in to the ground if it's rougher ground. This is a good one because it's just baseball size and it'll be easy to hold on to. It would be better if the flat area was a little bit bigger, because there's a bit of a danger of sliding off and hitting your hand, so you want to be mindful of that. Then you want to spread out the mid in your spot. And since it's not freestanding, you want to be mindful of getting it close as you can to where you're going to want it to end up. Grab your stakes. The stakes that I like to use are 8 of them. There's 4 of these MSR needle stakes, and then 4 of these longer ones. I can't remember the name of them right now, but it'll come to me. And then I always take 1 extra stake, and then that allows me to have an extra in case I lose one, but it's also, actually I keep 1 of these out and use that to dig cat holes when I need to. And I usually put the MSR needle stakes in the corners, and you always want to make sure to let as much slack as you can in those corners so that you can pull that tight later on. And across here I want to keep it fairly tight but not completely tight. A little bit of slack in that is good because that helps the mid be pitched up off the ground. And the higher you want it to be depends entirely on how windy it is. If it's very windy, you want it to be close to the ground and really tight. But if it's not windy, the higher you can get it, the better off you'll be for condensation. Now this 3rd stake is the important one, because you want to try to have a right angle with the first 2 stakes. So an L shape pretty closely. All right, put those right by the front door. And now, in order to, how about that? That stake has been in the ground for probably 3 years. This is the spot where I brought every shelter that I bought to try it out. I bet I lost that 3 years ago. That's pretty cool. I'm going to call that a good omen. So This now is when I put in the stakes, and I like to unzip. This is a two-way zipper on the Khufu. I like to unzip the top, but keep the bottom together, and then that helps get the tension right. And I like to have the type of trekking poles with a flip lock, because that makes it a little easier to tighten these later on when they're in there. And I have pretty much decided to always keep it on the highest extension, so the max extension. And I do the bottom one first, and then the second one. Usually can get away with doing that before we go in, but sometimes if I'm not sure how high I want it to be, I'll keep that second one a little tighter before I pitch the mid, and then I can extend it more once it's in there. Put the tip in the pole extender, and I always like to feed the far pole grip first in so that there's lots of room for that. Put that in the peak. And this is the part that always scares me, is when I step into that gap. I'm always afraid I'm going to catch my heel on the material, so be careful about that. And then the second pole, you can put around that way. Put it in the end of the pole adapter, and up it goes. And I forgot to do that, so you can see how much easier that is with a flip block than a twisting type of pole. So now I can close this up, and then I'll go around with the 4 poles and do the side panel tie-outs. The side panels have small bungee strings, which I attached myself. By the way, I got the bungee string from Z-Packs, and that reduces stress on those rather vulnerable tie-out patches. I like to run the string continuously from the side pull-out to the bottom, and that allows me to tension both places with just one stake. And I always do the front one last. And there's a bit of a trick here in that you don't really want to have to stake out both sides of the door. That would be too much of a hassle to every time you got in and out. So I like to just put one stake in front and have it offset a bit from the center. And that seems to hold tension well on the one door that stays closed. And then we can use this one to get in and out without having to stake it down every time. And I like to go around and tension those corners first, and then come back and tension the side panel tie-outs. And it's no big deal if you decide that you got your stakes in the wrong place. You can move them pretty easily. And I'm tensioning these side panel tie-outs, and I want to pull a bit on that, so I'm using up some of that stretchy in the bungie there. And I keep this fairly loose in the front. If I get that too tight, then it gets hard to zip and unzip the door, and I want to be careful with that number 3 zipper so I don't overstress it. Before you leave home, clip the clip, and that means taking a little piece of the plastic off of the little clip that attaches the top. Now this is an unclipped clip from a different bit of gear. Just wanted to show you what I'm talking about. And basically you just take a wire cutter like this, go in just a little bit underneath where the hook comes in, and clip that right off. Then the string hooks on a lot easier, and even more importantly, you can take it off without driving yourself nuts. This is the top of my current mesh shelter. You can see how it's clipped. Pitching the mesh is really easy. It's just a matter of spreading it out. Make sure the door is facing the right way. And I like to just kind of throw the corners into the corners. And then hook this on the top. And then I can usually go around and reach underneath, grab the corner, tie out, and just put the loop over the stake. It's already there. And just one final bonus tip is forget about getting a perfect pitch. Really, the truth is that out in the woods, there is virtually no such thing as a truly flat spot. And when you're pitching a shelter like this, it's going to follow the contours of the land where it is sitting. And so quite often, one side might get a little out of shape. Don't worry about that, because the only reason for this, the main point, is just to provide protection from the elements. So if your shelter is doing that, that is the perfect pitch. Don't worry about wasting a lot of time moving this stake and tightening that line to get a perfect pyramid shape. The point is just to be protected, and beyond that, relax and have fun. Okay, if this was useful, please hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.